Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, the editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. We're here today with Drew Harden. He's the manager of research and insights with CARFAX Canada. And with a lot of sales operations being shut down across the country, or certainly a hybrid, the importance of service becomes more important for those dealerships that are still able to service their clients. So Drew, talk to us a little bit about the importance of trying to maintain that service experience.
Well, thank you, Todd. And first, I just want to say thank you very much for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be a part of this interview series, and I've seen some great material coming out of you. So very impressed with the work you've been putting in through this crisis. So thanks again. So one of the things I'm very fortunate to do is I spend a lot of time interacting with dealers and trying to pick their brains and understand what challenges they're going through. And 6 months ago, I was talking to a lot of dealers who were telling me about how there's often some challenges with service customers on the used car side of the business, because once a warranty disappears, once the warranty is over, the customer tends to start going to an independent shop or somewhere else. So they were asking me at that moment, how can I hold on to these customers? And now, as we've seen this whole COVID-19 crisis emerge, the importance of service has even grown to where I have dealers I'm speaking with, and they're telling me, car sales are down substantially. So what can I do to really grow my service business? This is an area where I still have some control, and I may even still have some opportunity. So service is becoming very, very important in the face of declining sales, and a lot of dealers are really trying to address that right now.
Well, actually, you've also done some research in terms of what the consumers are looking for the service experience. I mean, all dealers are trying to reduce that loss of clients, to the aftermarket. So, what are some of the things that dealerships can focus on in terms of that customer experience, just on the service side, according to your research?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the studies that we've done, talking to 1,000 Canadian used car buyers to understand where they service, and we really did focus on used because, of course, dealers have told us that on the new side of things, there's a lot they can do to bring service customers in, but on the used, it's much more challenging. So we tend to kind of focus on that. There's essentially 3 really budget-friendly options that I recommend when it comes to actually attracting service customers and maintaining service business. The first thing that customers told us that they were looking for was guaranteed appointment start and finish times. So they want to know how much time they're going to be in the dealership. They want to know if they maybe have time to sneak out, grab a coffee, or go home for the day. But understanding exactly what they're committing to is very important to them. The second thing that we saw was actually the opportunity and interest in having a personal service advisor. So somebody at the dealership, similar to likely the sales rep who they bought the car from, but somebody on the service side of things who knows their vehicle and knows them, and they're able to communicate with every time. So when they pick up the phone, they're not just calling, dealership X, they're calling their person. They're calling someone they have a relationship with. And this is a really important opportunity for customers. And then third, actually, and this was a little bit CARFAX related, but they are interested in having service records appear on a history report. This has happened to me before. We've all lost our service records, then turned around to sell a vehicle and had a tough time saying, no, I have really worked hard to maintain it. So if you can assure the customer that, don't worry, it's all covered, the shoebox full of receipts doesn't need to be kept under your bed anymore, that actually adds a lot of value to the customer experience as well.
What's interesting about that is that some of these items that you're talking about, sort of a more hands-on service, sort of a valet service, concierge service, dealers have had to kind of adapt during the midst of this COVID crisis in order to be able to service vehicles at all, with all kinds of new protocols in place. So I think that consumer experience was adapted. So what's interesting is it's actually dovetailing with where consumers wanted to go anyway. So do you see this as being one of the net positives on the service side as dealerships adapt and try to service the customers in a new way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with any crisis like this, it does create the need for change, but also creates opportunity. And I think that's what's happened is a lot of dealerships who may have operated their service in a certain way for a long time and have been very successful are now put in that position where they do have to start to innovate and start to look at new opportunities. And I'd like to think that 6 months from now, these new processes will actually have grown their business. So there could potentially be a silver lining there.
And just one really last point on service retention. It's so important. You mentioned earlier that, along the way, you've got the customer initially through the car buying process, then with the vehicles out of warranty. A lot of dealers would love to hold on more from that service retention. Maybe talk a bit about why it's so crucial to help feed the entire ecosystem, even on the new and the used side, to hang on to that customer through the service experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things we discovered through our research is when a used car customer is coming back to that dealership for service, 74% of the time when they need their next vehicle, they're actually going to come back and shop that dealership again. So that existing relationship is starting to nurture sales in the future. And even further, 55% of those customers are going to buy from that dealership again. Now, Todd, I know if I was out at a dealership saying, hey, I've got this great source of leads for you that's going to close 55% of the time, everyone would be banging on my door. And the reality is that's actually your service drive. So there's a really great opportunity here to nurture service relationships now. Then as customers become ready to purchase vehicles again in the future, they're going to be back in your store and they're going to be buying.
And just one last thing, I noticed that you're not alone there. You've got the CARFAX buddy there behind you, keeping you company, which is good. How is your own organization sort of adapting to serve dealers during this? I recognize, a lot of times your people will be in the field meeting with dealers. None of that stuff is happening. So how have you adapted to continue to serve dealers during this, and what kind of support are you continuing to provide for them to help them through this crisis? Because they need help navigating their way through, because it's a tough time, and coming out of it, they're looking for help from all their suppliers.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a business, that's a core part of vehicle transactions and really a core partner of vehicle dealers. We've definitely seen a negative impact along with our partners, the dealerships. But as a partner, we recognize that it's time for us to step up. We win together in the good times, and we'll unfortunately have to suffer a little bit together now. As I'm sure you've heard, we're all in this together. So we actually put a pause on our vehicle history and vehicle valuation subscription fees. So we're not actually charging dealers any fixed costs at this point. They can have full control over any VHR purchases they need to make, and they can continue to enjoy our valuation products for free at this time. And of course, our whole company is still here. We may be working from home, but we are available by phone, by email, and our team is really just ready to get going as soon as dealerships start to open again.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us, because one thing we've seen, we've created a special COVID-19 resource page on the Canadian Auto Dealer website where we're listing the various things that suppliers are doing to help dealers. Because the way we look at it, a dealer might want to go look through that checklist and they may not be aware of something that a particular vendor they're dealing with is helping them with. So we're trying to really keep that as up to date as possible, because I think they will remember at the tail end of this, as the industry rebounds, who was there with them. So I applaud you and CARFAX for making that effort to waive some fees and make life a little bit easier for them right now. So.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. And if there's anything we can do to help, by all means, let us know.
Awesome. Well, that's all we have for today. So thanks, Drew. Thanks for joining us.
Perfect. Thanks again.
Okay, thanks. Signing off.